Hello, my name is Diana Sunshine and I'm with Coursera, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar and live Q&A session for Arizona State University's Master of Computer Science program. We're really excited to have you today, and we know that people are joining from all over the world, so I can say it's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. One of the first things I would like everyone to do is to kind of mouse over the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can see that there's a chat window that you can open, and if it would be great if everyone would just type in where you're coming in from today. So I see that Jorge says he's here, and there's Shah from Saudi Arabia. Wow, somebody from Costa Rica, India, Milwaukee. This is wonderful. We have a truly global group today. So we're very excited to have everybody here, and we sent an email out yesterday and this morning asking everyone to, if you have time, to review the webinar that we had recorded previously, and if you have, that's wonderful. If you haven't, don't worry, we still can answer all of your questions. And I have a panel of 2 experts from ASU today who are going to be able to answer any of the questions that you have about our program and how you can get involved. So I'm going to turn it over to Anita to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from whichever part of the world you're from. We're very excited to be here with you, and I'm the Executive Director for OpenScale Products. I helped launch this great Master of Computer Science with our Computer Science Department at ASU.
And I am Christina Sebring. I am an Academic Success Specialist Senior in the School of Computing, Informatics, and Decision Systems Engineering. That really is just a fancy word for an academic advisor. So I am the primary advisor for the program, and also I'm very involved, I guess, with the admissions process, so I can answer a lot of the admissions questions. Behind the scenes, you've already met Diana from Coursera. And then we also have Nicole Plachecki. She is our Student Services Coordinator Associate. So you will hear from her a lot as you go through the admissions process, as she filters a lot of the information going to and from the admissions committee. So as a reminder, as we go through the program, there is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen right by the chat. If you could use that to send us your questions, it really helps facilitate the question and answer session that we're going to be going through in just a little bit. Otherwise, questions can get a little bit lost in the chat, so definitely try to use that Q&A function as much as possible. As for a quick overview about what our MCS program is, it is a 30 credit hour program, which is 10 courses. So each course is 3 credits. We have 3 start dates each year. Our spring start is coming up in January, and we also have a summer start in May and a fall start in August. The program has a culminating experience called a project portfolio. Basically what that is as you work through the classes, you will at the end submit a project portfolio that shows every work you did in select courses throughout the program. So you pick your classes and then you submit it at the end. It is about 10 pages in total. We do ask that students enroll every fall and spring semester, but there is a bit of flexibility in that. Since our classes are 7.5 weeks long, you can pick one session or another, and how many classes you want to take depending on how fast you want to progress. So there is still quite a bit of flexibility when it comes to pacing. I can help guide with a plan of study, which is basically how you're going to meet your degree requirements. The program cost in total is $15,000, so it breaks out to $500 per credit hour or $1,500 per course. ASU does have financial aid options available, but that, of course, is subject to availability and eligibility, so there's a lot of factors involved in that. But in general, more than 70% of students at ASU do receive some form of financial assistance. So that's always something good to know. But I think with that, we're going to transition and answer some of our most frequently asked questions. So I think I'm going to hand this one off to Anita, if you're ready. I guess I can ask you, what is prerequisite knowledge, if they're seeing that term on our websites and other documents?
Sure, Christina. So The prerequisite knowledge is basically identification of certain foundational skills that you need for the program. And the reason we specify this is because we want you to be successful in the program. And we also want you to have a great experience while you're in the Master of Computer Science program. So there's a number of different prerequisite knowledge topics that we identify on the website. And that's listed there: computer organization and assembly language, data structures and algorithms, operating systems, principle of programming languages, introduction to theoretical computer science, and introduction to software engineering. And, you know, I have a background. I also have a computer science engineering degree. I got my undergrad degree from India. And having been in the Master of Computer Science department and understanding the curriculum, these foundational topics are really important for you to know, because you'll have this experience that once you're in a course, you'll be working with a group of people on different projects or different discussion forums. And so by having that background knowledge, we want you to be able to contribute and perform well in these courses.
Yes, thank you. That was very well said. Do we offer any credit for work experience in the IT field?
That's another great question. So I got my degree many, many years ago. And so some of the topics that were listed in the prerequisite area is not exactly on my transcript. The field of computer science has changed. For example, assembly language programming, I actually did it in a topic called microprocessors. And I've also noticed that a lot of people come from different STEM backgrounds. We have a number of people I've talked to that have chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering backgrounds, and they started off that way, but then once they entered the workplace, they started working more in the IT field. And so I know a lot of you have accumulated some great knowledge in a lot of different IT topics. Unfortunately, as an academic institution, we can't give credit for work experience, but we have a better way. So instead of assigning you all these prerequisite courses, we have a computer science proficiency test that you can take from your house. It's a 2-hour test, and you can prove demonstration of these prerequisite knowledge by all the information and knowledge you've gained from your projects being in the IT work arena.
Yes, and that has just, we've seen a lot of interest in that proficiency test, so it is a good option for these students. Will their degree say online Master of Computer Science?
So the great thing is your degree transcript says Master of Computer Science. And I know a lot of people ask this question because online has a different connotation in different countries. But at ASU, we offer the same program with the same courses, the same syllabi, same faculty as we do for our on-ground program. So you're tested on the same learning outcomes. You still have the interaction with your colleagues in the online format. So at ASU, your degree transcript will say Master of Computer Science. We don't differentiate in the modality in which you attain this degree.
Yes.
And that's definitely something different from other colleges in the US. A lot of colleges do say online Master of Computer Science, or they'll say online Master of Science in Computer Science. ASU will just say Master of Computer Science.
Yes, and it only show the transcript, only show the classes they took, not how they took them.
Correct.
Yes. So now, do they have to pay for the entire degree up front?
No. So I know, again, in a lot of international countries, once you sign up for a degree, and I know when I signed up for my undergrad in computer science engineering, I had to pay my entire tuition up front. At ASU, we don't do that. We just bill you for the course you're enrolled in. So for example, if you start the program and you enroll in one course, we will just bill you the $1,500 for that course. In the next session, if you decide to enroll in another course, we will bill you later for just that course. If you decide to take a session off because of work commitments or there are personal things that you have to take care of, you won't see a bill. And so it's very incremental. And we also have an academic calendar by which these courses are offered in. And so I know a lot of people who are looking for educational loans. You can contact us at the Enrollment Center and we will give you the academic calendar so you can plan the payments and pace the degree depending on what works for your lifestyle and schedule.
Yes, there's a lot of flexibility.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay, so I think at this time we want to open it up to the attendees to send us what questions they have and that they want answered on screen. So I guess this is a good time to ask if you could get those questions submitted through the Q&A function, and then Diana will get them over to us, and Anita and I will answer them live.
Wonderful. Well, the first question I see is from Courtney, and she says that she's going to be graduating in December, and she's wondering if she can apply now.
I can take that one. Absolutely. We definitely encourage you to get your application in now. Usually in these situations, we'll go ahead and hold that application just to make sure all the final grades come in, the degree ends up getting awarded. But then definitely get that application in. We actually already have a few students in that situation right now where we're just waiting for those final grades to post in December, and you can start the program in January.
Great. So Devin is saying that will she have a thesis option and specialize in data science or work on live data?
So the online MCS program is a non-thesis program. So the only culminating option is the project portfolio. Now, we do have a lot of data courses, so there should be a good opportunity to still get experience and complete projects in the data science area, but not actually completing the thesis at the end.
Perfect. Now we have another question, and this is a good one because a lot of people ask about it. It's about the math requirement. Yes. So there are some CS courses that can be taken as an online test or exam that you had said, right? So you can demonstrate your computer science prowess. But what about the math? Can someone take the math online or take a proficiency exam for that?
So discrete math is covered by the proficiency exam because that's an important part of computer science. So the discrete math component can be covered by that. The calculus requirements, calculus 1 and 2, actual classes have to be taken. The good news is many colleges and universities offer calculus online, including ASU. So you can complete your calculus requirements online through many colleges and universities.
And if somebody is going to be taking those prerequisites, should they still apply and say that they're taking the prerequisites, or do you guys recommend that they wait to get their application in until all the prerequisites are completed? Now,
Diana, if we're referencing the math requirements, specifically calculus 1 and 2, those should be completed before the application. The calculus 1 and 2 must be completed before the application. The other prerequisites that Anita discussed, specific to computer science, those can be in progress, or if they're interested in taking the proficiency exam, they should go ahead and get that application in, and then we can get them the information for that proficiency exam. I don't know if Anita has anything else to add there or not. I don't want to.
Perfect. So Jose has a question about, he's asking about the assembly language programming. What exactly are you trying to illustrate by using this language, the assembly language programming?
Yeah, Jose, that's a great question. So the field has definitely evolved since assembly language programming, and for people who are in the computer science undergrad programs 15, 20 years ago, that was a lot of the 8086 programming language. That's not what we're asking. What we're really looking here now for that prerequisite is just how the processor organization and design concepts are understood by you, memory organization, just basic I/O programming. Want to make sure you have that basic foundation coming into the MCS.
Great. So the next person is asking about the project portfolio. This is Shah. And Shah is saying, may I complete the research project instead of a project portfolio?
So it is a non-thesis program, so we don't have a research component. So it would be a project portfolio option based on the project work you're doing while completing the classes. So there is not a research opportunity as part of the MCS online program.
Perfect. And then Atul is asking about the options for machine learning.
That's a great question too, Atul. Thanks, Diana. So we have one of our primary courses is statistical machine learning. And that's a very popular class that's actually currently running for our currently enrolled students in the MCS program. So this course is really looking at statistical pattern recognition that supports artificial intelligence. And then we have a lot of courses in the MCS program that will be offered in the artificial intelligence area. If Nicole can provide the link on our website that provides all the courses and the descriptions in the chat, that would be very helpful.
Perfect.
And also, that's also just a good opportunity on the screen. We have our, we do have the link to our program as well on the screen. But I know through the chat, you can copy and paste out of there. So I'm sure Nicole will get that in there. But the link is on the screen for our website, as well as the phone number for our enrollment, phone number and email for our enrollment team for follow-up questions. So we do have those up on the screen right now, as well as the link to get your application submitted. So just wanted to point that out really quick.
No, that's great, Christina, because when they go to that link, they'll see the data visualization, the data mining courses, the statistical pattern recognition. Everything is culminating into very broad and deep understanding of computer science concepts.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a number of questions about the proficiency test, and I'm going to kind of gang them all into one question. Somebody's saying, are there guidelines for the proficiency test? Tatiana's asking, is there a sample proficiency test that they can see to get the idea of what's being asked? And then Alberto is asking, if he has a CS degree, does he need a proficiency test?
Christina, do you want me to take this one?
You can take it and I'll add if I have anything to add, yeah.
Sure. So the computer proficiency test, we do have a guideline that is published out on the website that illustrates the topics that are covered. And it also gives sort of a syllabi of different areas that we recommend you brush up on before you take the test. We also provide some open course content in Coursera that will help you in brushing up in some of these concepts. And there's also a practice test that's also available that you can look at to see the kinds of questions that are asked so that you can accordingly prep for this test. And again, if you have IT work experience or you have a background in engineering, you will find a lot of these topics very familiar, but we would recommend you just take a look at all the outline of the test. And if you have a background in computer science, Christina, correct me, but you don't really need to take this test.
No, I was actually going to add that most students who have the background in computer science don't need to take the test. Just for complete transparency, if for any reason there's, say, a gap somewhere, theoretical computer science is a very common example. The ETS still remains an option to be able to self-study that and take care of that course. But in that situation, the student would still be admissible. We would still just ask them to work on that area of knowledge within their first year in the program, but we would work with them on that. But the proficiency exam is also an option in that situation. So it has multiple applications.
And if you want more information on the test with all the open content that we recommend and the outline, please email us at mcsenrollment@asu.edu. We'll promptly respond with all the detailed information that you need.
Wonderful. And so Luis has a question about, is there a minimum number of credits that you need to enroll per semester? Can you kind of explain, what do you have to start with? How long can you take? How much time can you take off if there's ability to do that? And kind of just give an overview of how somebody could get through the program.
Sure, I can take this one. Very bluntly, the minimum enrollment is 1 class per semester. So for example, the spring semester will have 2 sessions. We'll have one session that runs from January to March and another one that runs March to May. They only need to be enrolled in one class in one of those sessions. So 1 class per semester. They can take more than that. It very much depends on other obligations, work, family, things like that. So we have seen a variety of enrollment so far in the program, depending on that. You can take up to 6 years to do that. So you can space it out quite a bit if that's what you need to do. So there's a lot of flexibility in pacing for completion. Now, Diana, you mentioned what if something comes up with work or family. ASU has processes in place where, you know, if you can't enroll for the fall semester, that's something actually I would assist with in helping the student maybe take a leave of absence or something like that. So there's a lot of options out there to balance that work-school-life balance.
And to add to what Christina said, there's no order in which you have to take these MCS courses.
Yeah.
So you can decide when your schedule will permit you to take a class over a session, and then you can look at the classes that are offered and decide which one you want to enroll in. We typically don't recommend enrolling in more than one course per session.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, and especially if you're working full-time, that is a recommendation I will give students right off the bat from being admitted, is one class at a time if you're working full-time, because they are 7.5 week graduate level computer science classes. So it is important to allow enough time to focus on each class. So
let's talk about that. So if somebody then decides that they are going to take one class per semester, so they'll do an A and a B in the summer, so that becomes, are there 5 sessions or 6 sessions per year that you can actually enroll in?
So there are 5.
There are 5. So if you did one for each of those, how quickly could you complete the program?
So that would be 2 years. You can do that in a solid 2 years. If you take one class each session, you would complete the program in 2 years.
And then if you chose to take one class per semester, could you have it where you take one per semester and take the summer off, or do you really need to take the summer as well?
You are not required to enroll in summer, so you can definitely take the summer off.
Got it. So then if you just did one class in the fall and one in the spring, how long would it take you to get through the whole program?
So are we, okay, because there are different definitions here. So if you're taking one class per session, so there's still, even if you took the summers off, there's still 4 sessions.
Correct. But if you did one in the fall and one in the spring, so you did 2 per year, right? So someone could do 2 courses in a year. Is that accurate?
Yes, so they could. It would take a little bit longer. That would take probably 5 years with taking the summer off, but you could absolutely do that if that fit. But even what you mentioned, if you wanted, I mean, just to throw, that's how much flexibility there is. Even if they just did each of the main sessions in fall and spring, A and B, I mean, you could still complete the program in 2.5 years, just taking one class at a time per session. So there's a good amount of flexibility as needed.
Yeah, and I could imagine that depending on, even if you took longer to do it, that also helps with funding it, right? Because it's pay as you go.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and it becomes a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I've heard from some students who are trying to balance maybe like employment, tuition reimbursement, where they have a cap they can't exceed per year, that it allows them the flexibility to stay under that because they can decide how many classes they want to take to stay under that threshold their employer set.
That's awesome. Okay, so Ahab has a question about the institution information has 3 fields: undergraduate GPA, junior, senior GPA, graduate GPA. And this person doesn't quite understand those terms. So can we explain what those 3 are?
Sure. Anita, do you want me to take that one?
Sure, you can take it.
Okay. I'll define it and then definitely add anything that you see needed. So when we say undergraduate GPA, that's your final GPA or grade point average for your undergraduate program, so the entirety of the program. The junior senior is the last 60 credit hours or last 2 years of the program. So it's just that usually higher level coursework, what your GPA is in that. Graduate GPA would be if you've taken any classes at the graduate level. So if you've completed another master's or maybe you just took a couple classes, then you do have a graduate GPA. So we are actually interested in all 3. If you don't have a graduate GPA, you should be able to leave that blank in the application. But we do, our focus when you look at those admissions requirements is on the junior senior. So the last 60 credit hours or last 2 years is the grade point average that is used for admissions purposes.
And I wanted to add to what Christina said. So I don't have a GPA when I got my undergrad degree, Christina, because I got my computer engineering degree in India, and there we had a percentage. Yes. And so what we would request here is you put your percentage in, because a percentage in an international institution has a certain GPA here. So just for fun, I'm going to throw out what my percentage is.
Oh.
I had a 68% in my computer science engineering GPA. You might think that's not high, but that was amongst the top of my class. So don't worry about trying that you have to try and convert it when you apply. You just put your percentage. We will know what that really translates to based on the home country where you got your degree.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, we please don't try to convert it. It's actually easier if you just leave it as it appears on your mark sheets or your transcripts. ASU has a lot of international students, so there's a lot of data we have that we can use to find those scales and evaluate your transcript appropriately. So thank you, Anita, for sharing that.
Yeah, that's a great story. So Tatiana is asking if there's any way we can share some statistics on admissions. Like, can you talk a little bit about how many are international and how many are domestic, how many are male and how many are female? Again, general terms. I know we don't have a lot of that. And even types of backgrounds. You know, are we seeing people from different backgrounds, or most people engineering or CS background?
Sure, I can take that one, Christina, and you can add to it. So our admissions, the great thing is we don't have a capacity cap. If you meet our admission requirements, we will extend you an admissions offer. The other thing is we have a whole diverse group of students in the program. With our initial fall cohort, we had about 55% that were international. And when we say international, you know, I live in the US, but I'm an international student because I got my degree from an international institution. So we have a very large cohort of students that have come from different walks of life, very interesting job experience, different backgrounds. Primarily, we see a lot of students from the STEM background, and we actually have students that don't have computer science engineering backgrounds too, but have other engineering disciplines. And they've taken college level computer science courses at a graduate level before. This is why we would like to see your transcripts. They've also taken the computer science proficiency test for the fall cohort. With regard to female versus male, I mean, that's a very close topic to me. We love to see more women come in the program, and amongst our graduate programs, we see the highest percentage of women candidates in our online Master of Computer Science program.
That's wonderful.
And as far as values, just it is important to Fulton Engineering, which is what our school is under, women in STEM. So that is an important value, just to add that.
That's great. Okay, so Sama has a question about transcripts, and I'm kind of surprised there weren't more questions about that, but this is something I know that's interesting, or a lot of people are interested in. And so Sama asked, do I have to send my transcripts to ASU in the phase of review before getting admitted?
So we've made a change in our application process where you can upload your unofficial transcripts in the application, and that will still move your application to review.
Yes.
So Christina can talk to you a little more detail about that, but we're trying to make it easier for you because I know the transcripts, especially from international countries, is so difficult. I'd like to tell a story here. So I have my undergrad degree from India, and when I wanted to apply to a program at ASU, I needed to get official transcripts. So I called my engineering college in India, and they don't do electronic transcripts. And they even said they don't even have all their records. So they said, your original mark sheets is your transcript. So what we did, we understood that issue. And so our admissions office made a change. So when you submit an application now, you can put your unofficial transcript copy. It will still go to Christina for review. If you get admitted, you would then have to submit official transcripts by the end of the first semester that you're admitted. And we have a multitude of ways you can do that. So we're not trying to put the burden up front before you get an application decision.
Yes, so that is a very recent change, and I think it will be very helpful for all students. I do want to add though, although you can apply with the unofficial, you do have to have the official sent within your first semester. So those still do have to be sent to ASU, but basically it allows you more time to work through that process where you're not up against a deadline. Like for our example, our deadline for the January start is November 15th. So we want to go out, you can still get your application in. All we need is those unofficial transcripts and we can get you evaluated, and then you can work through that process to get your official documents. While we're talking about transcripts, I do want to mention, please send all your unofficial transcripts for anywhere you've attended, because we've seen, one class from maybe this school, one class from this school. Plus we want to, for accurate GPA calculation, it's important that we see everything. So please go ahead and send us all your transcripts or mark sheets.
Great. Okay, so here's another question from DT. And DT's wondering that, if he or she takes the prerequisite courses, right, that they don't have the prereqs, but they take the courses, would those courses apply as credit towards the degree, or are those just prerequisites and don't count towards the degree?
They are prerequisites, so they're part of an admissions requirement, so they do not count toward the MCS degree requirements. So they're necessary to be able to be successful in the degree itself, so they can't be used towards credit. Hopefully that answered her question.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. Somebody else now has asked, oh, sorry, it looks like it, oh yeah, here we go. Ilya asks, where can I get a sample of the academic calendar?
Yeah, so we have a link online that gives you the dates for all the sessions in our calendar year. So just to be clear, there are 2 sessions per semester. And that's why Christina said there are 5 sessions in a year. So I'm wondering if Nicole can put the link for the ASU academic calendar there for graduate programs.
And that was also what I meant to mention this earlier on our website, which is that online link on the screen. There is a very robust frequently asked questions section as well. So it can highlight some of the nuances of sending transcripts and things like that. And I believe the academic calendar is linked there as well, just for future reference. We try to make that website helpful.
Perfect. There's in the chat, it looks like Sama said that she had misunderstood the undergraduate, senior, graduate GPA on the application and has already submitted it. Is there a way to get that fixed? And I think the answer for that is absolutely, right?
I would say when the admissions committee evaluates an application, they look at what you wrote, but they also spend a lot of time with your transcripts looking at prerequisites and the grade point average and verifying the numbers on the that you put on the application. So even if you listed it incorrect, it will be evaluated correctly during the admissions process as long as we have your transcripts or mark sheets. So I would say it is not something to worry about. It will be handled in the admissions process, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Perfect. Ved is asking about financial aid and says, how do I apply for financial aid? Is there a statement of purpose? And then I guess I would like to, I think other people would like to know, if you're an international student, can you qualify for financial aid? And then are there any scholarships available, right? Where like it's not a loan, something that you actually kind of money you get that you don't have to pay back.
Okay.
So let me take the scholarships question first, because we hear a lot of that. So we have greatly lowered the price of this program intentionally. So our on-ground program is almost twice as the price as for the online program. We also are not adding any fees to that $15,000 price. And we also, while developing the courses, we make a very conscious attempt not to request for textbooks to be shipped to you, because we know that's an additional price. And we also know textbooks are always a challenge. So we've done everything we can to lower the price. ASU has very limited scholarships available. Any scholarships that are available are listed on our scholarships.asu.edu website. And again, we've also tried to make the financial burden easy by only pay-as-you-go kind of concept for this program, and for all our ASU programs as well, so that you don't have a burden upfront when you apply and get enrolled in the program.
And then there's also a financial aid website on available through asu.edu as well, because there's a question about eligibility and applying. So there's some other questions on there, because it's a very individual process when we talk about that. So it's very dependent. So I would say to evaluate, go through the website, read through the different options. There was also a question there about the statement of purpose, which is not necessarily related to financial aid. It's more related to the application itself. So we do require a statement of purpose, which is on average about a one-page document outlining why you're interested in the program, you know, what you hope to gain from it or contribute to it. So kind of just about what your motivation is for the program. So that's what the statement of purpose is. And yes, we do require that. Yeah.
I have another question from Ahab, and I think he's going through the actual application, which is awesome because this is like where we should be able to answer all these questions. There is a segment on previous college eligibility. Do you guys know what that is referring to on the application, and what does that mean?
I think there's questions on there about like academic background. Mm-hmm. Anita, do you remember having gone through the process?
Yeah, you know, basically that question is really pertaining to, do you have any outstanding payments to other institutions in the U.S.? Yeah. You know, so that question really doesn't apply as much to this audience for the online MCS program. Mm-hmm. So if the yes or no, I would just say previous college eligibility. I would just not respond to that particular one. Just leave it blank.
Leave it blank. Okay, excellent. Now I have a question from Khalid, and this person is very much like our, I love this person. It's just like a typical Courserian, right? Highly educated and lots of degrees. So this person has 15 years telecoms, has an MBA in a MIS, Masters in Information Systems, and is wondering, does he have to test? Does he need a GMAT or GRE score? And does the existing MBA give any credit towards the degree?
Well, that's a great question because I have an MBA as well.
Exactly. See all these overqualified, really smart people. I love it.
And it's interesting because at some point I take a lot of computer science content myself. Even though I have a computer science engineering undergrad and I have an MBA, my core heart is in technology and I work in the IT field as well. So the only thing that would probably count in this application is, as Christina said, she would just want to see your GPA or, you know, when you completed the degree. So she would require a transcript. And then what was the other question?
I think it was that with the, do you need a GMAT or GRE, which the answer is no.
You don't need, yeah, you don't need either. So again, we try to make it simple. We really want to assess you based on what you've done before. And we also give you another option through the computer science proficiency test if you find that you have prerequisites still open at the time of determining your application submission.
Yeah, so it sounds like for Khalid, he would need to take the proficiency test if he didn't have the specific courses in his transcript.
Yeah, but if he has an MIS degree, he might just want to take a look at that as well.
Yeah, I would say he should go ahead and apply because if the test is needed, they hear back from us very quickly about any additional steps and next steps that are needed. So the best thing to do is to get that application in, and then we can let you know as soon as it's evaluated if there's any extra steps you have to do. So submit the application is the best way.
Excellent. So Khalid, I hope you heard that. Submit your application and then they'll get back to you. Brian has a question about what's the difference between a Master of Computer Science and an MSc, which I'm assuming is a Master of Science in Computers? I've never seen that abbreviation.
We get this question on campus a bit. So I think I know what the question is, so I'm going to try to answer it. So there's different designations. So ours is referred to as a Master of Computer Science, or MCS. You've heard us use that acronym a bunch. You also see online a Master of Science in Computer Science, which might be what the question is based in. So for example, our on-campus programs, we have the MCS, which is the non-thesis track, and then we have the MS, which is just the thesis. But in reality, there's no difference between them. Different colleges use a different designation for different things. So there is not a difference. Either way, it is a Master of Computer Science degree. So hopefully that,
yeah. I have a great question from Guru, and it says, is there an upper limit on age? And is that a factor in admissions? Yeah, this is a great question.
No, definitely not. We've had somebody who's in their 60s apply for the program as well. We don't discriminate on that. We just look at your prior background in terms of what you've done in your prior education.
Yep.
And then
don't even look at birthday.
Yeah, we don't. I'm going to go a little quickly because I see a bunch of questions that I can take, Diana. So Ganesh has a question. He has an H-1B visa. He's here in the US working as a software developer. You would need to take the English proficiency test just because you had your last degree from a country outside the US. So when I applied to graduate school at ASU, I had to take an English proficiency test as well, but we've made it simpler. We don't require you to go to a center and take the TOEFL. We have an online English proficiency test option that you can do in an hour from your house, very low cost. If you need details, please email mcsenrollment@asu.edu to find out the options for the Duolingo English test. So much easier way. And yes, there are office hours for our instructors for during the class. So typically there are office hours called live events once a week. And you could also reach out if you have additional questions where our instructors will respond back to you. And I also wanted to answer Yanina's question. You have an international software engineering degree. That's great. As Christina said, we would encourage you to apply, and if you have any prerequisites open, she will reach out to you after you submit your application. Now, Christina, there's a question for you from Harry. He's saying he's studying computer engineering technology. Can he study the Master of Computer Science program? So Harry, the question is, are you in an undergrad program or are you in a graduate program? So Christina, I'll let you further answer that.
So I guess, yes, you can still apply our program and pursue, I guess is the answer to that. If it's related to prerequisite knowledge, again, that would be something to get the application and get the evaluation so then we can let you know next steps. So I'm not sure if that's the direction of the question or not.
Right. Yeah, so Diana, I'm going to keep going because
that sounds great. Keep going, group. Yep.
So David asked information about the MCS pathway.
Okay.
So yes, we have an MCA pathway offering now that you can apply to. Christina, I'll let you answer questions about further information and how you would guide our audience towards that program.
So what the pathway is an opportunity for a student who maybe doesn't meet that GPA threshold that we've set to take a few, and a few means 3, graduate level classes and demonstrate that 3.25 GPA at the graduate level, basically to be able to correct maybe a lower bachelor GPA. So that's an opportunity to do that. It's a non-degree path. So the application process is quicker. So you still do a non-degree application. I believe the information will be coming out on our website for that very soon, hopefully, to get in and do that and take a few of the graduate level classes. I mean, even if you're maybe not sure, it's also an option for that too, to go in and take a few classes. The classes, as long as you get a grade of B or better, can transfer into the program later. So you still make progress toward the program. We'll try to demonstrate that higher GPA. So we don't, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, if you have questions, further questions, please email us. We will give you a lot more information about this pathway program.
Mm-hmm. But it did launch in fall B session, so in October. So we do have students already moving through the pathway.
So Juan has a question about, he finished an introduction to computer science and programming using Python. Is it a good background to apply for the MCS? So it is one of the prerequisite areas we recommend, and we do have Python programming assignments in some of these classes. But Juan, I just wanted to mention that is, if you have just taken that course and are thinking of applying for MCS, we would recommend you take other prerequisite course topic areas before applying for the MCS program. Ashish, we already answered about transcripts.
There's a question specifically to you, Anita, from Shah, and he says, I'm an Indian working in Saudi Arabia. My all degrees are authenticated and the back of the degree from the state of government, ministry, and education. And he has all the degrees with him. And how should he proceed? He doesn't understand if he can just, he can't visit India to get the full transcript.
Yeah, so what you can do right now is submit an unofficial transcript in your application. If you get admitted and you decide you want to come to ASU, we have a couple of mechanisms of how we can get your official transcripts in. So again, Shah, I would recommend you email us at MCS Enrollment. And if you want to talk to me further about it, just put a note in the email and I will gladly get back to you. David has a question about 8 years of work experience and he has sufficient knowledge in math, coding, and calculus, but he wants a better degree for a better opportunity to shift to the analytics stream because most companies require a master's degree. So absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, the whole world of computer science has changed and we're starting to see a big focus in data analytics and big data. So you could apply to ASU and get your Master of Computer Science degree in a focus in big data. What that means is you can take specific courses in big data that are offered under the banner of Master of Computer Science. And so you could specialize in that. You could take data visualization, you could take scalable data processing. There's a whole bunch of courses in that arena. And that would definitely help you because yes, most employers do look for that additional credential through a master's degree on your resume.
There's another question quickly about, because I know we have only 10 minutes and we have a lot of questions. Are there any constraints for people applying who are currently on H-1 visas?
No, no constraints. We have a lot of students that have H-1 or H-4B visas currently enrolled in the program. And the student does receive a recognized university degree. It is an ASU degree, so it is recognized by all institutions. If you are not accepted, do you get feedback on why? Do you encourage to retry later having improved your application? So if you are not accepted, Christina will work with you and potentially offer you a pathway option for you to get enrolled in if your final goal is in the MCS degree. Yeah. So again, we would encourage you to apply, and if you don't get accepted, we have other alternative options available for you.
Yeah, so at this time, they do hear back very quickly about if it is not an admissible application, why, and what the next steps are and what they can do to be admissible in the future.
And so Ahmed has a question for you, Christina. I submitted the application and didn't take the math courses. Does the rejection of my application affect my application review next time I apply?
So no, we would just reevaluate the application and if we would look for new information. So the record will show that you had a previous application. Everything is retained in your admissions file. But so then in that case, we'd be looking for the additional information. So if you were not admitted and said, go take the calculus 1 and 2, for example, then that would be what we're looking for on your transcripts, is to see if that requirement has now been met.
Great. There's another question from Devin about machine learning and deep learning are what I want to be exposed to, especially deep learning and neural networks. How much exposure will I get?
How much exposure to the content?
Yeah, to machine learning and deep learning.
Yes, so there are a lot of courses, some that are dedicated specifically to machine learning, other courses that talk, that also interweave these concepts. You get to do group projects, so you will get a lot of hands-on exposure to these areas.
Perfect. Somebody also, Luis is asking about that he's a Colombian living in Mexico and not a US citizen, and the application is asking me the type of US visa that I have. Do I need a US visa to apply?
For that part of the application, just select the option JN.
What's JN mean?
JN, basically, we don't need to look at your visa, and because since you're not residing in the US, we don't ask for any visa proof. So JN means we will not review that part.
Yeah, it means international, not coming to the US. So.
Perfect. Somebody said they applied last session and was recommended to join this session. However, I paid the application fee by then. Do I need to apply again, or will I have the fee waived?
So Christina, this is where they can request to defer to another semester, correct?
Yeah, so if you are applied and were admitted, you can request to defer to the next semester. So that is absolutely an option if you were admitted for fall and you want to request. Or let's say you submit an application and you decide, hey, I submitted for spring, but I actually want to start in summer. That's something that we can work with you on the admissions committee side. So there's a couple options there. So I hope that addressed the question, what they're asking.
I think so.
Okay.
And then Devin had another question about her or his CEO has recommended that he take off, basically quit working and do a full-time in-depth program versus doing a kind of part-time online program. Do you guys have any response or thoughts to that advice?
Well, so it really, it depends on the job that you're in. And I think both experience, it really becomes time management. If you do an online program, you still get the same content, same syllabi, same learning outcomes, but it really depends on how much time you have available away from your job and family commitments to do the program. And sometimes colleagues will say, if you want to fully focus on the program, then take time off from your job. So that's a personal decision that we would encourage you to make.
And then we have a question about somebody who's interested in getting their PhD. Would getting this degree allow them to get their PhD? And if they needed to have recommendations from their professors, would they have an ability to get that?
Yes. So this degree is the same as the on-ground degree, so you can use that for applying for a PhD. And we have got this request for letters, so yes, you can make that request and help you with your letter of recommendation requirement for a PhD program.
And that even if you don't have a thesis, right? Because the final project is not a thesis.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's not, a thesis is not a requirement for a PhD.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Dad had a question about that this person happens to be a local person from Phoenix, and if they get into the program, will they have any access to the on-campus facilities and libraries?
Christina, yes, I know we have some students in the Valley, and I do know that they visit the campus as well, and they're still an ASU student. There's no differentiation between the two.
I would recommend, although we don't require this for online students, if that is something you want access to go ahead and get the ASU Son Card, because that is usually how they determine, like for those types of facilities, if you're an ASU student. So that would be my recommendation, is to go ahead and get the Son Card. That's our ASU ID card.
Excellent. Well, I mean, there are obviously always more questions,
yes.
Right? I think what would be nice, we have 5 minutes left. Do you guys want to kind of give one more kind of broad description of what next steps could look like for people? And then we can reiterate where they can get information and follow up and how they can communicate with ASU's admissions office.
Sure. So I see a lot of questions about WES efficiency and all those kinds of specific application questions. I would encourage you to email mcsenrollment@asu.edu. We will answer your questions quickly by the end of day today. I'm sorry we couldn't answer all your questions, and I know there are a lot of international nuances to the questions that we are very well equipped to answer. So please email us, and I will make sure that we respond to you today.
Yeah. So as far as next steps would be to go ahead and submit that application. So there is a short link available on the screen right now. That's the links.asu.edu/MCS-application. That link is also available through the main MCS website. So that website overviews the admissions requirements, has our frequently asked questions. And that's the links.asu.edu/MCS. But as Anita mentioned, if we were not able to get to your question, please reach out to our enrollment team. The number is on the screen, as well as the email mcsenrollment@asu.edu. They are here to help, so that please use them as a resource to get these questions answered, so we can get your application in by the November 15th deadline.
Excellent. Do you guys have anything else that you would like to add?
Well, I've been at ASU for a long time, and we would love to see you here as part of the ASU community. We have a strong alumni network. We're very proud of being #1 in innovation. And we were very excited to bring this program to you because we understood the need for working professionals like us to continue upskill, especially as we talk about computer science. I mean, things change so fast all the time. I've been an IT work professional for the last 20 years, and I'm really excited about the curriculum and the program that we have to offer.
Yes.
Excellent. And then we are recording this, so once the webinar is over, we will send the recording out to everybody, so in case you want to review it and watch it again. So thanks everybody for taking the time. It was fun to have everyone from all over the world coming and learning more about our program. And we look forward to receiving your applications.
Yes, we look forward to working with you. Bye.
Bye.